parent recently asked, "My child is being bullied by his peers. What can I do?" I'm Nicholeen, and I teach parenting and good communication all over the world through the lens of self-government. And in this video, we're going to be talking about bullying and how you can help. Bullying is such a common problem. Let's get into bullying, why it happens, and what we can do to prepare our children so that they aren't the next target. Have you noticed that the more the bully programs talk about don't bully, that actually the more bullying there is? I've noticed that. In fact, I was afraid for that when the bully programs started coming out. Now, this doesn't mean that the intentions behind the anti-bullying campaigns aren't good. I think they are, but I think that what's happening is we're so wild as a population that we are catering to the bully mindset, but also we're talking about it so much that in some cases it becomes enticing for some of our more oppositionally defiant youth. So we do have a larger number of people who are oppositional defiant than we used to have just a few generations ago. And there are reasons for that. Whether I have time to discuss all of them is a whole other matter, because I definitely want to talk about bullying today. So what does bullying look like? Bullying can look like a person telling lies about another person. It can look like a person taking things from another person, or touching someone in a way that they tell them no, that they can't do. It can look like a person saying abusive or hurtful things to someone. Now, sometimes children do just say hurtful things to each other because they don't think it out ahead of time. That's not necessarily bullying. That's just ignorance. And so we do need to make sure that we know the difference between the two and that we don't call everything bullying, because if we do call every ignorant childhood behavior bullying, then we're also going to be seeing a lot more bullying than really exists. But I'm guessing you're asking this questions because you know for sure bullying is happening, that someone is doing something to your child. They're harassing them. They're forcing them to do something. They're taking away their freedom in some way, whether it's on the inside or on the outside, and that is definitely considered bullying. So what can we do to help strengthen our children so that they aren't the next bully victims, or how do we combat bullying in the first place? I'm going to share with you some tips that will really help if your child is experiencing bullying, and then I'd also like to talk to you about ways that you can prepare your children to be immune from bullying. And I know that seems like, how could that even happen or be a thing? But it absolutely is. If your child is being bullied currently, it's really important for them to not get emotional about it. Now, I know that it can be traumatic for a child, but you have to help them look at the bullying from an outside perspective. So if they see themselves as looking on at the bullying instead of being trapped in the bullying, they'll be able to make better decisions, which sometimes throws off a bully. In fact, if your child is being bullied with words, maybe, so someone's saying mean things, then what they can do is they can train themselves not to really listen to the words or take the words personally. Teach them what it means or what it feels like to take something personally, and what it feels like if you're just dropping the subject or choosing not to care about it. I know that's easier said than done. My dad used to say, "Nicholeen, sticks and stones will break your bones, but words will never hurt you." I mean, people have been saying mean words forever, right? So we have these little sayings, and I remember thinking, but words do hurt sometimes. In the end, what he was saying is, you get to choose. You get to decide whether you take that word on as it means something to you or not. And so you've got to make that decision now, before the next person says a mean word. Now that is powerful. How does your child decide that? Well, by having a conversation with you. So I would definitely have regular talk times. Don't promote the idea that someone's getting bullied by turning everything into a really scary conversation, but just say, sometimes people aren't very nice. Sometimes they even get to the point where they bully somebody else. And so we definitely want to talk about what's going on. If you can't be there with your child all the time, which actually would be the ideal for combating bullying, is if you're there and you see what's happening, so that you can help them navigate it right there in the minute. You can talk about it before and talk about it after. But if for some reason you're not there when the bullying is occurring, then what you have to do is you have to make sure that you have regular talks about social and about what they play and what they talk about. So keep those lines of communication really open, because bullying can lead to other psychological problems that can really be detrimental for a person, sometimes even lead to self-harm. And we want to be mindful about that, always watching for those clues if they happen upon us. So this leads me to the number one thing that you actually can do to keep your children safe from bullying, and that is having a good connection with them. Do you know that their bond and connection with their parents is actually what inoculates them or makes them the very most immune from bullying? It's true. So if they have a good bond with their parents, not the type of bond where they're like needy and they need their parent to take care of everything all the time, but the type of bond where they can talk to their parent about anything, where their parent advises them and guides them, teaches them principles, how to be resilient, how to be strong, how to be persistent, how to talk with other people and have good communication skills. All of those types of training that happen under the tutelage of that parent who is a teacher actually makes it so that the child is less likely to be bullied. You know why? Because the child is more likely to be confident. If a child learns how to communicate well, how to disagree appropriately, accept no answers, follow instructions, and they know how to disagree appropriately with other people, that makes them very confident. They're not afraid as much of adults. And a bully does not usually pick a person who can go and talk to an adult and have a good conversation with them. So if you're having good conversations with your child, you've got a good bond with them, you're teaching them good skills for communication, and you're working alongside them, teaching them how to follow instructions and work hard, they will see themselves as strong, capable, and not afraid of anyone. And guess what? They are almost immediately not a target for a bully. They need to have that confidence that comes from you. Now, I know some children who come from really strong upbringings can still end up becoming a bully, but don't forget that their confidence actually is rooted in their relationship with you initially. Make sure that you become that person that develops or helps them develop more confidence by doing more with them, taking on more projects, and don't be afraid to pull them away from peers for a while. Maybe they need to have friends with real people like adults. I know that seems strange in today's world, but I think outside of the box. Some of my children's best friends were adults, and they gained so much from that opportunity. So maybe they need to hang around with adults, work on construction projects with adults, be in a quilting guild or a singing choir with adults, so that they see how people are really supposed to behave with each other, because they could be trapped in this small-minded, myopic view where they only see that there's mean kids and then there's the kids that are victims, and that's it, and they can't get out of it, and they think they're always going to be a victim forever. Show them how real people behave, help them be part of it, and then hopefully they'll be able to step away from the bullying, because the person who is being bullied does actually have some of a responsibility to step away from the bullying or to not allow the bullying to work. My brothers teased me. I was one girl, I had 3 brothers. Finally, I had another little sister, but she was the baby. So who got teased the most? Me, because I was that girl. And I remember my dad said to me, "Nicholeen, don't you let those boys mistreat you." And I thought, don't I let? He's the dad, right? But he said, listen, if their teasing works, they're going to keep doing it. But if you decide you don't care about the teasing, or you just call it out and say, oh, that's just teasing, then guess what? They may try something even worse for a minute, but soon they won't try anything else, because it's just no fun. So be sure to tell your children that the bully actually is having a good time trying to control them. And that is something that they can't let the bully have, is a good time. So make sure that it doesn't work. Try not to care. Everybody's different. Oftentimes bullies focus on somebody who has a specific difference. But really, there is no amount of social training that is going to stop bullying. In some ways, we have to feel bad for bullies, in a little way, because they probably don't have the bonding that they need with the right people in their lives. Oftentimes, that's what the bullying shows. They're seeking negative attention, they're trying to manipulate everyone around them, because for some reason, they've learned that that's how you get attention, or that's how you get what you want. You have to control everybody else. So help your children understand that a bully is probably in a pretty bad place. And hopefully they can forgive the bully, and over time the bully will mature and not be a bully anymore. Teach them patience and understanding, even though they have to work with a person or be around a person who isn't very nice. Obviously, if the bully does not stop after your child has implemented some of these things that we've been talking about, the child needs to be told that they have to either stand up for themselves by fighting back, or they have to contact an adult that can help him. I usually say contact the adult first, but if the adults are not willing to help and you see yourself as in danger, then sometimes you have to teach your child how to fight back. And sometimes that's just what they need to know that a bully cannot knock them down again. If this video has been interesting to you, I'm pretty sure you'll like my next video, which is called How Do I Stop My 2 Kids from Fighting? If you're interested in keeping peace at home as well as everywhere else, that is the video for you. Click on the link now. I'll see you there.